It being 10:30, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Lafourche Port Commission of September 13th, 2017 to order. Mr. Roland Guidry, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I'd like to welcome everyone here and please remind you to turn down your cell phone. Next is roll call. Mr. Sheremy.
Thank you, Mr. President. First we have seat A, Chucky Sherman here. Seat B, Perry Gisclair.
Here.
Seat C, Chris Godet.
Here.
Seat D, Rodney Gisclair.
Here.
Seat E, Mike Colley.
Here.
Seat F, Larry Griffin.
Here.
Seat G, John Melisson.
Here.
Seat H, Jimmy Guidry.
Here.
Seat I, Irvin Bruce.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sherby. Next is consider approval of the minutes of the August 9, 2017 regular meeting and the August 23rd, 2017 regular meeting. Move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Griffin, second by Mr. Melisson. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is the Executive Director's report. Mr. Shelton.
Thank you, Mr. President. First is our northern expansion projects. Northern expansion slip C 950 linear foot west sweep dredge project, Angelette Piciola. Mr. Larry Piciola.
Yes, RLB out of Texas is the contractor on this project. He's telling us he has about 15 to 20 days left. As of now, as of today, he's 118 days over the contract time.
118.
How many more days you think he has left to complete?
He said, I think it was 10 to 15, but I would say 15 to 20.
Okay. And he's part of the Hurricane Harvey and
Right.
1.5 a day?
Their office got really damaged in Hurricane Harvey. So they went to Dave since then.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Okay, northern expansion, GLF site 625 improvements.
Okay, this, the contract on this project is sea level. They have equipment on, material on site. They plan on starting today with their work. The contract is, completion time is November the 27th of this year. He had 90 days to do this project.
Any questions?
Okay, northern expansion slip C 939 foot west bulkhead.
Okay, this project, sea level, is also the contract on this project. He has completed the 3 dead men completely. He's working on the 4th, and has sheet piles coming in, and they plan on starting to put in sheet piles. They have a change order number 1 on the agenda, a little late on the agenda, for placement of culverts along the access road to the project due to erosion, and this change order is in the amount of $111,484.
Any questions? Thank you, Larry.
All right, northern expansion slip C 1,671 foot east bulkhead, Piciola and Associates. Joe.
Yes, Crosby Dredging LLC is the contractor on this project. We'll be giving them their first notice to proceed on Monday, the 18th of September, and right now they're submitting material qualifications. They should be moving on site to drive test piles in the next couple of weeks, and they're also ordering materials, sheet pile, whatnot.
Any questions? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
And mitigation dredging of slip D, J. William Plaisance Engineers. John.
Crosby Dredging is also the contractor on this project. We gave them a notice to proceed about 3 weeks ago. They started dredging about a week and a half ago. Right now, they're filling actually a development area, and it's going to be in addition to the contract. It's the only spot y'all had left along Highway 3090, so he's filling in that. We expect him to be there for another week or so, and then he'll move on to the mitigation area.
Any questions for John?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, James.
Okay, moving on to airport projects. Our airport manager is at a conference, so Davey Bro will handle these projects.
Yes, on airport operations, the operations for last month was 2,878 operations, passengers were 10,081, and vehicles going in and out of the airport were 9,545. The actual operations and vehicles were the highest months so far this year, probably due to the storm in the Gulf and having to take people from offshore and sending them in shorter term. The next item is a taxiway lighting runway LED upgrade project. We have a low bid from Sun Industries of $796,124.14. That project will be starting shortly. Further on the agenda, you have to, we would request you approve the FAA grant for this project. It's a grant in the amount of $720,911. So we did well on procuring that grant. And the third project at the airport is the Loop brine line replacement. That's on the east side of the runway. Loop is actually finalizing permit application for the crossing of the hurricane levee on the north end, but they are going to get started on the south end of our property, replacing that brine line, and that work should be starting in the next week or so.
Any questions for David?
Are we gonna have to displace the runway on the north end?
We will. They're going to do it in 200-foot sections. We had a meeting with them a week ago, and they're going to do 200-foot sections, and those shaded areas, the equipment will be shut down. Richard sent out a notification to our tenants, letting them know this project is coming. When we get to that area, the equipment would be down for periods of time.
Any other questions? Thank you, David.
Okay, other projects. First is Section 203 feasibility study, GIS engineering. Dustin.
Thank you, Mr. Chasson. Dustin Marlbury with GIS Engineering. As we updated on Monday, the study is progressing well. We're maintaining our schedule. The first component of the study, the engineering phase, is about 50% complete. Our cost estimate is in a posture where the main item left is the siltation rate maintenance dredging for the project. We're working closely with the port and its subcontractor, the Water Institute, on that objective, and have a meeting with them later this week to coordinate some of that effort. The other part of the engineering, the geotech, we're working with Mr. Chasson and Ms. Tuck on coordinating that effort, trying to narrow down a boring plan for the port's needs at Fourchon Island, as well as the feasibility study channel needs for design and cost estimating. The economics, the benefits section, we're about 85% complete. AECOM, our subcontractor, is working on this effort. We expect sometime in the beginning, first week, second week of October, that they're going to produce their final report for us to proceed into that tentatively selected plan, which is the most beneficial NED plan. In the environmental section, we're about 65% complete. That deliverable submittal in November, which is the draft EIS, is expected to happen in November, and submit that over to the Corps and the reviewing agencies for public notice. And that's all I got. If any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin.
In Nerby Collins Marina steel pile replacement project, Davey.
We had some damage from a windstorm earlier this summer. That project was completed recently by E&L contractors. They replaced wood pile clusters with 6 new steel pile clusters and did some woodwork repair on the wharf and piling on the back end of that arena. But the job is complete.
Any questions? Thank you, David.
Okay, the offshore anchorage update is the field unit level is done, which is the home office. It's the project information has been submitted to the District 8 Waterways Management Team. That is being routed up to the District Commander for his signature to be published in the Federal Register for comments. Once it gets signed and published, it'll be in there for 30 to 60 days for comment. And then after that closes, they'll see what the comments are, if it has to be continue more public meetings. If there's no real negative comments, then it'll be basically issued and becomes a final rule for this acreage. So we've been working on it for a couple of years now, and it looks like it's getting to that end of that cycle, and it'll be an official acreage very soon. Any questions? Okay. The LA 308 airport access improvements, Joe Piciola.
Yes, we were given a notice to proceed to do the engineering work last week. We have submitted a permit to DOTD, our permit application to DOTD for the entrance of the road. We did have a meeting with South Central Planning, who's kind of doing management for EDA on this earlier this week. So we're finalizing plans. We'll get them preliminary plans soon so they can review. And hopefully in a couple months we'll be out for bid.
Any questions?
A reminder on that, that's a project that is really being managed by the parish government, and it's an EDA grant that the parish received for that project, and the Port Commission has matched for the match that is needed for the project.
So that's also gonna shift the road further north, or is it?
It's going to shift the road further north so that you're more in line with going across the bayou for the future airport corridor project. But you're also doing some drainage work, and we're also going to widen the road with shoulders and everything, and you're going to have additional turning lanes. So you're not going to just have two roads intersecting with LA 308. So it'll look a lot similar to what we did further in the back.
Right,
And then we're also going to add the turning lanes at 308.
great, thank you. All right, thank you, Drew.
Thank you. All right, that concludes my report, but we do have some public comment, I believe.
Mr. Andrew Martin.
Thank you, gentlemen, to have the opportunity to address you guys. I'm going to discuss Phase 3 and also the meeting that the council had in Matthews last night. But I just want to bring some information out that maybe some people do not know, especially people in the 10th Ward. We can thank Governor Edwin Edwards in 1973, which he had a vision of that the port, for some reason, would have needed an airport. And when he got a federal grant from the federal government, he called me up and asked that if we were willing to put an airport in this area. And I accepted that and told him that I would like to appoint Leonard J. Miller as the director of the airport, and that was in 1973. He had a vision that probably knew stuff that probably we did not know, that most of the transportation for passenger was not going to continue doing it by crew boat, was going to be done by helicopter. And I can see what's happening today, that he had that vision. 2006 is when I read in the newspaper that Phase 3 was going to be done, wanted to be done, and on May the 19th, I received a letter from the port requesting that we would sit down and talk about getting my property to try to do the corridor. Every night I sit in my living room watching television, and I sometimes go to bed kind of late, and 24/7, I can see across the bay from my house, they've got transporting people for helicopters, and believe it or not, as much as 3 o'clock in the morning, they still got people going back and forth out of the airport. I'm really concerned about maybe possibility of having a caution light there, because there's a lot of traffic going in and out of that airport right now. It might be to look into that situation. The other thing is that, of course, after what Mr. Piciola just said, that y'all widen up that entrance, because a lot of times these 18-wheeler will come in and they have to back out, and I'm really concerned when they do that, that the possibility they may have some kind of accident, on 308. The other comment I want to do is that the presentation that Chet did last night at the council, I think he spelled it out pretty good. Did a fantastic presentation, Chet. I really didn't know myself some of the things that this was going to consider. To get $11 million in tax revenue in 2 years, that's an accomplishment in itself for the parish of Lafourche. But that's not the only thing, is that it helps out many, many other things that I did not know, and that I would hope that the not only the tax revenue growth, but growth of operation, flowing of income impact, jobs in tourism, industrial park, diversification, emergency response. I think you covered everything. And it's something that we need if we're going to expand the port to do other things that you're all talking about. Not only the LNG, but also the possibility of the shipyard that you want to do on the island. And that was talked about in 1975 when Terrio Modeck was on Intercoastal Canal, that Norte Terrio and the Japanese were getting ready to go ahead and make a proposal, or they did make a proposal to the port. I think I got a copy somewhere, and I had asked Chet to find out in that particular meeting if you ever found out that meeting or not. But what happened in 1975 and 76 when they made that presentation, in 1977, Norte Terrio died. And when he died, we lost the Japanese people and decided not to do the deal. So that project that y'all working on now, it's a livable project that I think would be advantage to us in Lafourche Parish. So the industrial park, I've got people every day that calls me for warehouses. I don't know about y'all, but I've got 2 or 3 phone calls. I got my warehouse all rented out in the back of my house. And emergency response. You never know, the situation may come up that we may have to have that airport. And I think we ought to look at that for phase 3, because I don't think, as soon as you do phase 3, I don't think you're gonna have any problem with the federal government to get the bridge done. And I know we're talking about $25 to $30 million, but I think with the President Trump coming out with a plan to try to do the infrastructure, I think we'll be able to get that money, in that area. Phase 3 is a no-brainer. I don't know what the situation is. I think the council did what they had to do. I think it was political more than anything else. I don't think that the council voted not to have all that revenue and the advantage that we're gonna have for this area, and even for the parish. So I hope that some kind of way, that I hope that the parish will finally realize how much revenue we're talking about for the parish, that they realize that they ought to go ahead and make arrangements to try to get together and come to a conclusion. But if that can't be done within a certain period of time, then I've got to look at my situation and my whole card. Because before I started negotiating with the parish, I had 2 other clients that was interested in buying not only my house, my mother's house, my office, the warehouse, and even on the other side of the 3235, which we got 7,400 feet in the back till the levee district. So all I can say right now is that we need to find out exactly if it is a political struggle that we're having with the council. And if we are, then I've got to look at my whole card, see what I'm gonna do. So I just want to make sure that the people of the 10th Ward and Lafourche Parish know what the situation is. For a man 40 years ago had that type of foresight, like Governor Edwards, and seeing the way it comes right now, and I spoke to him about 2 weeks ago, and I told him what was happening. He says, "I told you so." So I'm leaving it at that. If anybody's got any question, I'd be too glad to answer. If not, I thank you very much for to have the opportunity to say my piece.
Any questions?
Thank
Mr.
you very,
Martin, the only thing somebody else?
I was gonna say thank you, Mr. Martin, for coming.
Yes. Last night I was there. I think what I left with was the council as a whole, and I think that's what I left, was not against the project, they're all for the project. I think the problem was the funding, the source of funding. I hope that now, that, and some people had problems with different things, that now they can get back together. And look, but also, come meet with Chet. We're here to put a package together. We're here, we're involved too. And I see we have a councilwoman here. But yes, and they're putting their together and the problems they have, the sources of funding, include the Port Commission. Let's try to get something worked. I'll be the first one to agree we need a corridor right there in that area, whether the bridge is there or not, to take all the traffic out of the subdivisions, out of the hospital roads, to make it safer, to take even up to the South Lafourche Bridge. All your local traffic would divert to there, would even alleviate the problems of the South Lafourche Bridge. So I say, yes, I agree we need a corridor there. Hopefully everybody can get together and come up with a plan. And I thank you for coming here.
Thank you very much.
You wanna
I say Stuart for last. Stuart for last?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Jimmy LaFoy made a request.
Good morning, gentlemen. Jimmy Paul LaFont, number 19 for CD. I know most of you all already. I've served with you all for 6 years, especially Perry. And I'm running to help the continued success of this sport. I'm not running against any individual. It's an open seat. During the election, it has become the Oyster seat. And Mr. Wilbur Collins, personal friend of mine, he had the seat before, kept it for many years. It was also called the Golden Meadow seat at one time. And I hope, while I'm talking about the Mr. Collins and the family, that we keep him in our prayers, the whole family, because it's a pretty big key to the door that they lost there, and he was a great individual, and we had most of our hobbies that were the same. We both was oyster fishermen, and we both served on the port. So I'm giving it another try, and I appreciate anybody who would vote for me, consider me, and if I need those who don't know me, not the board knows me. I started out as a deckhand, became a tankerman, oysterman, captain, and now I'm managing a towboat operating company. I have the experience to work both for the employees and the fishermen. Let's not forget the fishermen. I don't hear their name too much. Y'all got a Nerby Collins Marine in first class. That's all good. And I'm not running against anyone here, but y'all do a great job. I'm just trying to become part of that plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LaFoy. Mr. Lorraine?
First of all, good morning. Daniel Lorraine, 134 East 176, Golden Meadow. I just want to let the public know, along with the commissioners, that we were able to open the fishing pier Monday. And Mr. Chucky Sheremy, Mr. Chris Goudet, Ronnie Gisclair, Mike Colley, all attended, and I'm sure all the rest might have, and Mr. Chet, the administrator. And it seemed like it's going to be a great success. I really want to thank y'all for the 166,000, because without the 166,000 that y'all put up, it could have never been done. And as far as last night, I really want to thank y'all for coming. I think y'all did well. You presented yourself very well. I don't think we could have done any better. I think the Chet did real good. Chucky did real good. And everybody that spoke did real good. I just hope that Plan 1 didn't work out, so maybe Plan 2 might work out. I just feel that this port, and I said it last night, generates millions of dollars. It's a parish hub. This is where it's at. The more that y'all can produce, the more tax money goes throughout the whole parish. Anything that you do is positive, and it's positive for Lafourche Parish, not for South Lafourche, for everybody. And I think we got that point across last night, but for some reason it didn't work. Most of them were saying they were for it. We were for it, but when we lit the board up, we only had 3 votes, 6-3. And I was just disappointed, but that's okay. We can still do the negotiations as long as the property owner, stays with us. Once we lose him, and we don't get that direct way of getting to 32, 35, you can look for other property, but I don't think there's much property from the Galeana Bridge south. And if you do find some, you're going to probably have 4, 5, 6 houses on there. Here you just have 1. And I'm going to say it like I said last night, it was a no-brainer, but unfortunately, it didn't pass. But I really want to thank y'all for coming. And we even had the senator, the representative, Chambers. I don't think we could have had any more people. And everybody made sense. And everybody spoke well. So I want to thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Ms. Lucy, I want to welcome you and,
Yes.
Yes, thank you for coming.
and invite you to come to the podium.
Good morning. I am one of the members that voted not against the project, but against the funding for the project. They're seeking to take more money out of the RBP funds. So that's been the majority of the council, and I know the 6 that voted against the funding, not against the project. We are always supportive of the port and everything you all do. I'm a certified Louisiana economic developer. I have a national economic development certification. I know the importance of the port. And we want to support the port in every way that we can, but we need to do so wisely. We also would like to have 3 estimates so that we can get an average cost of the property. We're stewards of the public funds, and we just have to be careful that the estimates that we're using are accurate and that we take the money from the proper line item. That's really it. Look, we great supporters of the port. We thank you for all that you do, and we know, make no mistake, every one of us knows how important you all are. So thank you.
Ms. Lucy, will you introduce yourself because people don't hear on the
Oh, I'm Lucy
down here.
Esposito. I'm Lafourche Parish Council
All right,
member.
thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome you here.
Any other public comment? Next, we move into,
We have,
oh, I'm sorry, Energy World.
yeah,
I don't have those, you had them written down.
yeah, we do have a presentation by Mr. Graham Elliott from Energy World. He'll run through this presentation very quickly and announce a public meeting that's going to be held, an open house that'll be held next week. So, welcome.
Thank you very much, Chet. Thank you, President and Commissioners, for the opportunity to give you a quick overview and a presentation of the project. As you all well know now, Energy World Group through Fourchon LNG is proposing to put up a 5 million ton per annum LNG facility here within the port. Energy World, our group, we are an investor, we are a developer, an owner, and an operator of energy infrastructure projects. We go from gas reservoir in the ground all the way through the burner tip. So what we're looking at here is really building the port into part of the big business opportunity that is LNG. And I really don't need to speak to you too much on this because you're all well aware of both the need for a domestic supply of LNG as a clean fuel source, but also the ability to leverage American assets and export overseas. Why we chose the port, it's obvious. It's an ideal location. There is an existing infrastructure, proximity to gas supply, there's available land, there's a skilled local labor force, and most importantly, there's a welcoming environment. And we cannot thank you enough for how welcoming the port and the Commission has been so far to us in pursuing this project. Just quickly on the philosophy, we're trying to break up the idea that LNG has to be huge quantities, huge contracts, point to point, and what we're trying to do is make sure that it's available to anybody around the world in whatever quantity they want as an affordable source of clean energy. And obviously, as I said, there's a domestic market within the US, even within the port, and there's a much greater international market because there's a lot of developing countries that need a lot more electrical energy, and they really need to start getting that from natural gas instead of getting it from coal or heavy oil or other more dirty fuels. You all know where the port is. I don't need to belabor this one. So we have the land leased with a first right of refusal over the larger area. And some of these slides I'll just flash through quickly now. Our architectural team have started to put together the layout plan, obviously, and then this is what the finished project should look like there in the port. And it will be developed in 2 phases. The first phase will be the first tank, first 2 million tons per annum, which is 4 small modular trains to produce the LNG. And then the second phase will be the second tank and the additional 3 million ton per annum capacity. So the final capacity will be 5 million tons per annum. There'll be 2 88,000 cubic meter LNG tanks on the site. We are now undergoing the pre-filing process with FERC. We have kicked that off. And as Chet was saying, the next big event coming up will be a public open house on the 19th of this month here in the local library. And that will be happening from 5 to 7 p.m. And that's an opportunity for members of the public to address myself and other members of the Lafourche LNG team, as well as the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission people that will be here for that. We're bringing together a team on this project. It's not just us. We use Chart Industries, who do a lot of their manufacturing of the cold boxes and the important LNG equipment right here in Louisiana. Siemens on the gas turbines, Structural Steel out of Mississippi on the steel work, things like that. And CH4, an American-based firm that does all of our feed and front-end engineering design work. So this presentation will be available for you. I'll just move through the rest of it very quickly, just to give you a bit of a flavor of it, but there'll be a gas cleanup process that goes with each train. The liquefaction process is exactly the same as a refrigerator, just on a much larger industrial scale. Air coolers are the biggest thing you'll see. The cold boxes, which as I said, are made right up the road in New Iberia. And this is the reference plant. We'll get to in a minute, concrete storage tanks. The tanks are lined with a special insulating material, a secondary barrier, more insulating material, and then the inner lining against the LNG is a stainless steel liner, so it's a stainless steel inner tank insulation, then a concrete outer tank. They're full containment. With terms of the shipping, we actually have our own LNG carrier. We have a large LNG carrier, the Ocean Quest, the ex-Matthew. She's 128,000 cubic meter. So even when we get up to a full 5 million ton per annum capacity, we'll be looking at about 1 shipping movement per week on average, and that'll be 5 to 10 years down the road. So there's about a 2-year permitting process that we're going through with FERC now. We hope to kick off construction, all going well, after about 2 years, and about 2 years to construct. So in 4 years' time, we'll be looking at about 2 million ton per annum, which will be 1 ship every 2.5, 3 weeks. Obviously, it'll ramp up. We're also working on some smaller ships, which will be used for domestic supply to the Caribbean and other areas like that. The storm surge considerations are obviously very important. The entire facility will actually be constructed on an elevated platform. So the whole facility will be on a piled platform similar to your elevated road running down to the port. And that'll make sure that the plant deck will be about 20 to 23 feet above ground level. And that'll allow any surges to go under it and things like that. Just quickly, this plant that we're building here is a replica, it's a duplicate of the LNG facility we currently have under construction, which will be starting operation early next year in Indonesia. And it's the same modular LNG system, same tank. And these are just some views of that plant, which is under construction, so you'll have an idea of what it will look like on the site itself. Gas processing, cold boxes being erected, the treatment, and that's the tank. Loading arms for the marine jetty. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to address you.
Any questions?
I like your presentation, short and sweet. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I like the,
Sorry.
Are you from Golden Meadow?
I'm glad you did that, Mr. Griffin. He does sound kind of funny.
I need to get adopted, so I think after about 5 or 6 years here, I'll do my best.
Mr. Jeremy calls that a West Texas accent.
A little bit further away from that, but
and I'd like to thank you for coming, and this is gonna be the largest single investment in Port Crucial.
Yeah.
Totaling over
it's
800 million.
the first phase, the 2 million tons per annum, is $888 million direct investment in the port. So we're very excited about that. We have the equity funding in place to get through all the permitting process, and obviously in parallel to doing the permitting process, we're raising the debt financing. And we'll be looking at ways to also make sure that there's an opportunity for local investors to get involved in the project, whether it's through a listing that happens and things like that. So we want to make sure that, most important, and sorry to keep running, I know you told me I was short and sweet, I appreciate that, I'll do my best, but we are here to be a good neighbor within the port, and we obviously want to ensure that we get as much local participation in the project. That is important to us. We'll be looking to use local subcontractors, local contractors, engineering, wherever possible. So thank you very much, appreciate it.
Would you mind saying the day of the, at the library
Open house.
again?
Public hearing.
Okay, so we are holding a public open house on the 19th of September. It is going to be held in the library, and perhaps Chet could remind me of the address, because it's just up the road here.
Yep.
Cut off.
Yeah.
And that will be from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on the 19th of September.
Is the South Lafourche Public Library.
Correct.
So, thank you.
And I thank you again very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have anybody on your list that I
I
don't?
do not. Thank you. We had enough today.
Okay, we move into committee report. Executive Committee. Members are Perry Gisclair, Chairman, Larry Griffin, Chuck Sheremy, and John Mellison Jr. And the Executive Committee, first on the agenda is consider approving Schwest Shore-Based Services provision to stabilize shoreline on lease site GLF 621-2.
So the recommendation is to approve for this site to extend till August 31st of 2018, the time frame by which they would start the construction of their bulkhead on this site, as well as with that provision guaranteeing the Port Commission a year's rent. So recommendation is to approve that.
I'll move, Mr. President.
Moved by Mr. Sheremy, second by Mr. Gisclair. Any discussion? Any public comment? I abstain. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next is consider approving the request from EcoServe to amend lease to modify transfer station type.
Okay, so EcoServe is their transfer station. They're currently a Type T that's stipulated in their lease, and they are changing to a Type A. And the recommendation is to approve this to make the lease be the same as what it's supposed to be.
Move. Moved by Mr. Griffin. Second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is consider approving the request from Expert Riser Solutions to extend lease term for site GLF 410.
Okay, this adds an additional 5-year option from September 1st of 2039 to August 31st of 2044. Recommendation to approve.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mellison, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is consider approving the Expert Riser Solutions landlord agreement.
Bryce?
Okay, we discussed this on Monday night. This is essentially the same thing we approved last month. It's just their source of funding and their funding mechanism changes a little, but the recommendation was that you all approve this landlord agreement.
Moved by Mr. Gode, second by Mr. Kale. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the members to attend the 2017 AAPA Annual Convention meetings.
Okay, this is for the naming of the delegate, which will be myself, to be the voting member for the Great Lafourche Port Commission.
I'll move, Mr.
Moved
President.
by Mr. Jeremy, second by Mr. Gode. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is consider approving the agreement with Chevron for use of the Nervic Island Marina.
Yeah, we'll take no action on this to allow the administration to continue talking to them about all the needs that they may have for this facility.
Okay, so next is consider naming the airport maintenance shop in memory of Vinton Crosby.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Griffin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bruce. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Is that a double?
Next is Permit and Waterways Committee. Members are Chucky Sheremy, Chairman, Larry Griffin, Perry Gisclair, and Mike Colley. Mr. Sheremy.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, we have Loop LLC, brine disposal line upgrade at Cloverleaf Facilities, Lafourche Parish. Then we have John Purdue, proposed installation of a 3-inch injection well at former breach location in order to conduct research and remediation on crude oil from the Deepwater Horizon spill. Then we have Jonathan Marks, proposed construction of a camp, boat dock, and approximately 150-foot bulkhead. Then we have the Louisiana Department of Transportation, proposed removal of 59 feet by 39 feet concrete pier to a 22 NAVD 88 elevation. All work is included within the LADOTD right-of-way. And that's all we have for permits, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Sheremy. Next, we'll move into Construction and Development Committee. Members are Irvin Bruce, Chairman, Larry Griffin, Perry Gisclair, and Rodney Gisclair. Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, consider adopting a resolution for capital outlay quarantine ports matching fund.
Okay, this is for the capital outlay project for the minor Sheremy Road, and this is basically guaranteeing the $600,000 matching funds from the Port Commission for that capital outlay funding we are receiving.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Consider approving amendment number 1 for the cooperative endeavor agreement with capital outlay for minor Sheremy Senior Road.
Okay, again, we're receiving some cash from the state for this capital outlay project. Recommendations to approve this amendment.
Moved by Mr. Colley, second by Mr. Sheremy. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Consider approving change order number 1 for slip C 939 feet west bulkhead project with sea level construction.
Okay, this is a change order increase of $111,484. It's a necessary change order and recommendation to approve.
Moved by Mr. Bruce, second by Mr. Melanson. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Consider adopting a resolution to accept the FAA grant award for taxiway lighting and runway LED upgrade.
All right, this is basically saying that we are accepting the FAA grant of $720,911.
Moved by Mr. Gode, second by Mr. Gisclair. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
So we have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruce. Next, we'll move into Finance Committee. Members are John Melanson Jr., Chairman, Jimmy Guidry, Chris Gode, and Perry Gisclair. Mr. Melanson.
Good morning and thank you, Mr. President. We'll begin the finance report by consider bring approving the payments of August 2017 invoices and recognizing those over $10,000. Item 1, we have Sea Level Construction Incorporated, $299,262.43, and that's for Slip C North, 939 linear feet of west bulkhead. Item 2, Crosby Dredging, LLC, $95,000. That is for Slip D mitigation dredging. Item 3, American Integration Contractors, $75,955.42, and that is for technical services and camera maintenance. Item 4, GIS Engineering LLC, $72,954.59, and that is for the integrated feasibility study. Item 5, E&L Enterprise Incorporated, $67,633.55, and that's for the Nerby Collins Marine pile replacement and for a sunken vessel removal and disposal. Item 6, PCO and Associates Incorporated, $61,372.23, and that is for Slip C, 1,671 linear feet of east bulkhead. Item 7, Vision Communications, $28,590.76, and that is for phone, internet, television, and technical services. Item 8, Epic Aviation, $24,458.26. That is for truck rental and fuel resale over at the airport. Item 9, Grand Isle Shipyard Incorporated, $18,904.10, and that is for contract labor at the airport, the public boat launch, limestone needed, and culverts at the airport. Item 10, Wagaspack Oil Company Incorporated, $17,023.83, and that is fuel for vehicles and equipment. Item 11, Bank of America, $16,467.88. That is for port credit card charges. Item 12, Guardian Computer, $10,758.04, and that's for technical services and off-site backups. And last, we have HCR Network Technologies, $10,270, and that's also for technical services and camera maintenance. That, and along with our other expenditures, brings us to a total for the month, $1,242,508.47. And Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion we accept these expenditures.
Moved by Mr. Mello, second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
As on Monday, we went over considering approving the 2000 unaudited financial statements, and I'd like to make a motion we accept these.
Moved by Mr. Mellison, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion?
Let me clarify, you said 2000, that's August 2017 unaudited financial statements, just for the record.
Thank you, sir. I think we need a vote, or we did?
Just go ahead. Any discussion? Not any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next, we have consider approving our insurance renewals and the addition of a crime policy, and we'll bring up Ms. Miranda to come up and discuss that with us.
This year, our insurance premiums decreased by about $11,000. We're also recommending that we purchase an additional policy, which is a crime policy. This will cover any employee theft or losses arising from employees not properly performing their job duties. The quote for that came in at $2,068. So with the $11,000 decrease and the new premium of $2,000, we come to a total decrease of $9,000 in our insurance premiums.
And that crime policy, just to remind you, is based on some new
The agreed upon procedures mandated by the legislative auditor. So it's a best practices that we purchase this crime policy.
The auditor has been a creative little fellow. I'd like to make a motion we accept the insurance renewals and the additional crime policy.
Moved by Mr. Mellison, second by Mr. Colley. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And last, we have consider approving out-of-state travel and training. We have Director Chasson attending the LA1 meetings in Washington DC, September 6th through the 7th. We have Deputy Director Davey Bro and External Relations Manager Joni Tuck attending the Deepwater Operations Conference in Galveston, Texas, November 7th through the 9th. We also have Director Chasson, Commissioner Mellison, Commissioner Rodney Gisclair, and Commissioner Godet attending the GPAA Fall Meeting in Florida, November 1st through the 3rd. And we have Robert St. Pierre Jr. and Luke Adams, both Harbor Patrol officers, attending the FLETC Inland Boat Operators Training in Georgia, November 12th through the 17th. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion. We accept the travel and training request.
Moved by Mr. Mellison, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. President, this concludes the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Mellison. Next, we move in. Any other business?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Moved by Mr. Sherman, second by Mr. Gisclair. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Meeting adjourned. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming and being interested in your port.